On this episode of Balance and Manifest, Your Rise to Greatness.
Balance and Manifest, Your Rise to Greatness. We are joined by Sean Paul Higgins to talk all things water. We discuss the basic physiological processes of consuming water and the important roles water plays on your everyday health and athletic performance. Sean Paul discusses water systems, water treatment, and harmful substances that can be found in our water sources. We hope you find this episode helpful and educational.
Welcome to another episode of Balance and Manifest, Your Rise to Greatness, the podcast where our guests share their stories of overcoming hardship and finding their way to success to help inspire and motivate others. I'm your host, Sean.
And I'm Sav.
As always, guys, if you can do us a favor, and wherever you're listening to this podcast, subscribe on your platform, listen to this episode, share it. If you can, give us a rating. It'll help us climb in the charts, get more of this information and stories out to people. And as always, we are presented by Nine Realms Athletics. Go to ninerealmsathletics.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, the store, ninerealmsathletics.com, and you can use promo code MANIFEST to get a discount on your next order. It's cold weather right now, so we still got some hoodies, some beanies, and the cool new Balance and Manifest black tee.
I love it.
So what we want to talk about today is water.
Our life source.
And it sounds really, really boring.
Well,
but neither of us are experts, so we kind of did a deep dive.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's one of those things where we kind of take it for granted. It's in our everyday lives, and it is our life source. Without water, we wouldn't have life and be where we are today.
So with that,
yeah.
we did some research. So we're going to give you guys some information on how water works in the body, how it pertains to performance in athletic performance in the gym, to kind of tie that into how it can benefit you guys daily. And then we will have a guest that we will bring on who will go into wastewater treatment, stuff that's in the water, things like that. So I think it'll be really good and informational for you guys.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think it's something that we forget about in our daily lives, especially the amount that we take in. And I think we take it for granted, really being mindful of how much we're taking in and how it really does affect our body. And we're going to put it into everyday terms for you. So we're not going to go too scientific on you. So we actually know what we're talking about.
And that's mainly because I don't know science. So
no.
So everyone tells you stay hydrated, drink water. What is it? 8 cups of water a day is kind of what people tell you. But no one really tells you why. And
yeah.
It's important for daily, just everyday use. But when it comes to education, and especially, like we said, athletic performance. So let's just go straight into it. Yeah,
we're going to start with just kind of going through the digestive tract itself. Just starting at the top, I mean, the first thing that comes into play is our saliva. That's kind of the first indicator of breaking down food for one, but then intaking anything into our body. We secrete saliva, and most of it is water. It also is the first indicator into knowing that we're thirsty.
Which can lead to dehydration.
Right. So going down into our stomachs and into our intestine is where, in the small intestine is where most of it gets absorbed into our body and then put through our blood for distribution throughout our body. I did kind of want to throw out some big percentages that I think are very important. Plasma in our, the water percentage in our plasma in our blood is 90%, and the amount of plasma in our blood is over 50% of what our blood is made up of. So blood circulation is going to be a huge part of why water is so important. And water is 70% or more in some cases of our cell mass, which obviously makes up most of our body contents.
So, like you said, basically you eat food, right? It goes into your intestines. Saliva and water help with the breakdown of food. One of the major ways we get rid of waste in the body is going to be your daily bowel movements. So what
keeps you regular.
So what water does, and this is what your saliva does. Also, saliva starts the breakdown process of the food you're eating, and water basically softens it up and helps it be able to flush out your system. Your sweat is, all these things kind of tie together more than just drink water in your body. So sweat is one way of excreting toxins from your body and cooling you down, which is regulated by the hippocampus.
Yeah, in the brain. So it's part of the sweating is an autonomous entity within our bodies. It happens automatically. So it's not something that we have to think about or actively do for it to happen. Staying hydrated is just going to be super important for brain health in general. Obviously, the brain is the center of the function of our entire system itself. Is telling our bodies what to do. Essentially, water is the source for making sure homeostasis stays balanced in just the functional systematic flow throughout our bodies. So getting into why we need to stay hydrated is to not get dehydrated. It seems very, very simple as far as one is the inverse of the other. Ladies, also, if you're looking to get rid of those fine lines, stay hydrated.
Is that the fountain of youth?
Fountain of youth. Well, it goes back to cell mass. If you're dehydrated, it goes down into the cell itself, where each cell gets dehydrated, and then your skin becomes dehydrated, and that's where the fine lines come into play as well. So just skin health in general, we have to remember that our skin is an organ itself, and organ regulation comes into play when it comes to staying hydrated.
Another way your body excretes toxin is through your urine. So toxins are broken down and excreted through your kidneys. Correct, biology lady?
Yes.
So your body breaks down the toxins and it's excreted through your urine. And so there's telltale ways of seeing if you are on the brink of dehydration or dehydrated as far as your urine goes. So your urine is made up of, am I going to pronounce this correct? Urea?
Yes.
And water.
Good job, honey.
Yeah, there you go. Big words. And water. So when you urinate and your urine is that bright yellow, or the dark. It's like a darker yellow. The darker, the more urea in your urine.
Okay, Mr. Biology.
Less water, which means you're not consuming enough water. So your kidneys are working harder, and your body's having a harder time to excrete the toxins from your body. Yeah,
essentially you're already dehydrated at that point. So your body tries to play catch up, but it's not like you're going to pass out or be fatigued. But those are our telltale signs that you are dehydrated, that you'll start getting a headache, you'll get fatigued, you'll notice you can't focus, cognitive function goes down, especially vomiting. Well, that's the extreme part of it, but especially like in kids, you'll like they can't focus at school, or they come home complaining with a headache, have them chug water. Drink some water.
Well, and through the day. So
yeah.
So how does this all tie into, right? This is all kind of super dumbed down basic. A lot of this stuff is very scientific, and I'm not a scientist. So just kind of breaking it down into simple terms. But
I did want to share also, if we get too dehydrated, our body starts to shut down, but you actually go into heat stress. I did want to share a story. It is pretty intense. It goes into those symptoms that I was just talking about, where you feel fatigued, you feel blurry, and you can't focus. I used to be a bartender at a poolside bar, and we would always have these trainings on heat exhaustion and heat strokes and things like that. And I worked there for 6-7 years, and I never saw a case until one day. There was this, she was early 20s, came up to my bar and puts her head down on the bar. And usually when you're bartending, you say, hey, you can't have your head down on the bar or be sleeping or anything like that. I need you to go down to a table and sit down. All of a sudden, she gets up, she goes completely flush, and she passes out. And I'm like, okay, how many drinks has this girl had? And her friends are like, oh my gosh, she's only had not even a whole drink yet. Like, what is happening? I'm like, oh, it's happening. It's happening. This is what the training trained me for. She's in distress. She's having, she's having heat stress. So obviously we were able to render aid to her and help her out, but it was immediate. It was quick. She had only been there for 15 minutes, but she hadn't been drinking. She'd been drinking throughout the day, doing all the wine tours and things like that, and she hadn't been drinking water, and she finally made it to our location, and it hit her like a ton of bricks.
So what does this all mean to you guys? And a lot of the basis of our stuff is based on fitness and gym. So just kind of want to go into hydration as it comes to athletic performance. And a lot of these tests and studies are done on athletes. So people think that doesn't pertain to them, but it pertains to anyone in resistance training, athletic performance. It's not necessarily as an athlete that we think of your professional football player, your basketball player, stuff like that. It's going to be, if you're
going to the gym and working out hard, it pertains to you.
Yeah. So we know that water maintains blood volume, helps regulate blood temperature through sweating, which keeps your body core temperature down. The more you sweat, it actually uses your sweat. If I get this correct, the more you sweat, it's basically burning calories. So when you're hydrated,
your body trying to return to homeostasis, that is burning calories.
Yeah. So by trying to cool your body down, to evaporate the water in your body, to cool your body down, it has to burn calories to do that. And you need to have the water in your system to
your body heats
evaporate.
Body heats up, body secretes sweat. Sweat then turns from a liquid form to a gaseous form. Then that is what cools down our body.
Right. See, the smart one. So
I got to organize his thoughts sometimes.
So hydrating during and after performance will help maintain muscle function, prevent and decrease performance, and reduce the risk of heat stress, which we've kind of already gone over.
Yes.
The big important thing is people think is drink water while you're exercising, right? Which yes, you do. But you actually want to drink water. It's about 30 to 45 minutes before exercise. Mm-hmm. And then you want to drink more, like 8 ounces, 15 minutes before exercise. And then through intense performance, athletic performance, or resistance training, you want to drink during. Now there's a whole lot of...
Every 15 minutes is the general rule. You should have a few sips every 15 minutes to stay regulated throughout your workout.
Right. And everyone has like a formula, right? There's no real consensus on how much water to drink.
There is, but I also want to touch on if it's really important to hit that, hit the water before you work out, because if you don't during your workout and if you're dehydrated, it actually slows your blood circulation, which then puts you into hypotension, potentially, which means that you're getting less oxygen to your heart and to your organs. So it will shut you down faster.
Correct. So as for, again, back to like water intake, the general rule is kind of, I think for adult males, it's about 4 liters a day. Adult females, it's about 3 liters a day.
Yeah, there's various, there's no solidified research on how much we should have, but that's the general scope is 2, depending on your activity level, is 2 to 4 liters a day.
But as it pertains to athletic performance, this is going to sound really basic, and it is, but it gets kind of in depth. So the more you work out, the more you sweat, the more water you want to drink. You're not just going to stick to that simple formula. When I was training for pro wrestling, I would drink 2 gallons of water a day. I would drink a gallon during my work day, and I would literally drink a gallon during the 2.5, 3 hours I trained, because I was sweating so much that my body just needed it. So there was a study that they did, and they found that sweating 2% of your body weight, they noticed a decrease in physical and mental performance, and which increased the risk of nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, gastrointestinal problems. So that's going to be 2% of your gross body weight. Now, when it came to 5% or more, it showed that it may decrease your capacity, your work capacity, your performance capacity by up to 30%.
Ooh.
So there's, just tie it into wrestling real quick. There's a famous story, Ric Flair, old time Ric Flair was doing a battle royal, wrestled for 60 minutes, and he sweat and he lost 16 pounds.
Holy shit.
In that match. So you can, with that much weight, you can just try to understand the mental space and physical space that you would be in, losing that much water, and the level of dehydration that could come from that. So what dehydration during performance can do is it reduces the blood flow into the heart, which reduces the blood flow out of the heart, which affects your VO2 max, which is your aerobic power, which is how you can perform your cardio, your performance in the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are dehydrated, then your body starts to break down more glycogen, which actually puts your body into an acidic state. And you start, your body actually secretes more lactic acid. And that makes for a harder recovery, which none of us ever like.
No. And so the last thing we'll kind of touch into, and I hope we get a chance to, there's 2 things. I hope we get a chance to talk about this later. But what they also found, was dehydration increased, so University of Connecticut did a test on muscle growth in athletes during resistance training. So I'll try to put a link to this on the description so you guys can go check out the information, because we're just kind of bullet pointing. But what they did is they tested the euhydrated, the moderately dehydrated, which was loss of 2.5% body weight of fluid, and the critically dehydrated, which was 5% of the body weight. And they drew blood and examined the molecules in muscle growth for these tests. And what they found was that the dehydrated athletes saw an increase in cortisol, which competes with receptors in the body, and actually reduced the level of testosterone.
And cortisol is a stress hormone. It's something when your body is in distress, like say your fight or flight response is triggered and you're in this anxiety-ridden state for a long period of time, or you have a spike in stress, your body releases cortisol as well. So that's what you can kind of relate it to.
And so what that did was the increased cortisol reduced the amount of testosterone after resistance specific training. And testosterone is one of the main functions in muscle growth. So being dehydrated, and I said before, I hope we get in this later, I want to have a discussion topic on testosterone and the importance of that. But essentially, you dehydrate, your cortisol levels go up, your body has a harder time recovering from resistance training, and it has a harder time building muscle because of the increased cortisol and the reduction of blood flow in the body.
And generally, when your body is in a cortisol-ridden state, you actually put on more belly fat as well.
Right. So that leads us into part 2. And you say, how do you stay hydrated? It's by drinking water, right? But is all water the same? No.
Is it?
So that's why we have our guest with us today. And
we have with us Sean Paul Higgins.
How's it going?
Hey, buddy, what's that?
Just here to educate some people about water.
Yeah, we're excited. Sean Paul and I actually grew up together as little bitty kids. Oh my God. I remember like being in your garage and we had some sort of like little band. Do you remember that?
Oh my, I do remember that. Whoa, that was
a long time ago.
Throwing it back. But yeah, we went to school in elementary.
Yeah. And then I dipped out and went to high school somewhere else.
Yep.
Just left people behind.
Just left people behind,
That's okay. That's what happens, I left California behind. We all got to do what we got to do.
Yeah. So real quick, just give us a quick little background in your sports, your sports athletics. I know you did some strongman stuff, which is super interesting. And then, so give us a little rundown of that and a little rundown of your history as it comes to this topic.
All right. My athletic background, I was the chubby kid. I was not athletic at all. I played baseball growing up, but that was kind of it. I found lifting through football and track and field, and I've been lifting since high school. So about 10 years now. I'm one of those people, I don't know, I guess we're more of like a unicorn, but I like to try everything. So I did like CrossFit style training. I've done strongman. I've done like bodybuilding. And then I competed in strongman and I won in that. I was the lightweight novice.
Where did you compete at?
It was in Sacramento. I cannot think of the exact the competition name, but
gotcha.
Yeah. What else? Athletic stuff. Oh, I started jujitsu now that I'm here in Arizona. So yeah, my athletic background, I like to do everything. And the stuff I enjoy, I kind of add it in to my training. So my training's I don't know, from CrossFit, I would say I really like supersets, or strongman. I would say I really like, you have 60 seconds. You need to do as many reps as possible.
Huh.
So I do stuff like that. I just, mix up my training. And with jujitsu, yeah, that's been an interesting one because it doesn't really involve weight, but
I know. How's that process been with?
It's humbling. It is humbling.
Very, very humbling. There's
yes, very.
There's nothing worse than rolling with. So I did a little bit, and I rolled one night with one of the instructors. He'd been teaching for 18, 20 years, and I'm like 250 pounds, and I can deadlift and lift, and I'm in there, and I think he submitted me 12 times in 90 seconds, and it was just embarrassing.
You might have set a world record.
Yeah, it was awful. And I couldn't figure out, like, I kept doing the same crap over and over.
Yep.
And I was just like, what the hell am I doing?
Exactly. Yeah. I've been going about 3 months now. I'm fighting through a little shoulder injury, so I'm not rolling, but I'm drilling. And yeah, man, when the black belts are like, come over here, I'm like, here we go. But I always take it as a lesson. I think it's like the white belt mentality, like you can learn something from anyone. And so, yeah, they kick my ass and I'm like, teach me how to get out of that. They put you in something and I at least learn how to get out.
Well, yeah, when it comes to sports and athletes like that, like wrestling and, like I said, I did pro wrestling. So even with that, but like jujitsu is people fall into this, you want to compete, right? You want to roll with the white belts and people your level, or sometimes people even want to roll with someone below their level, their skill level, but you don't grow and learn unless you're in that. I love, like you said, I love going and rolling with the guys that are the black belts, that are the guys who are fighting in UFC, because you're not going to learn unless you're getting pushed by the best people, unless they're not explaining to you what you're doing wrong. If they're just out there to kick your ass, then it doesn't really help. But
yeah.
Well, and you learn just as much. You learn from learning, but then you also learn just as much from teaching, too. And I think that, rolling with someone who might be a little bit lower or less experienced is beneficial too. So that's pretty.
They have a good culture there. So I've been lucky where the white belts, if they'll know one little thing that you don't, so you roll or you're drilling, and they'll just give you that pointer, and everyone's kind of throwing those ideas around. So I'm lucky. I found the very first place I went to a lot of like really good-minded people that are willing to share and teach and learn, and everyone's trying to get better. And there's a reason, at least my gym has all these gold medals up on the wall, and it's like, the instructors must be doing something right. It's that culture and them.
Yeah, in Arizona, there's some big, some really big names that are out there. I know, like Ryan Bader's out there, who I think he went to Arizona State, but he did a whole bunch in the UFC, but it's neither here nor there. There's a lot of talent out in the Arizona area.
Yeah, they were telling me like, oh, you left California, there's a lot of good jiu-jitsu people out there. Yeah. So I was like, there's good people everywhere, I'm sure. There's experts everywhere.
Yeah. So what is your history with when it comes to water treatment, wastewater?
So with water treatment, I worked for one city, for pretty much about a year. And then I left that career. I also took a couple of their California state tests, licensing. So I had to get licensed there in the state of California to do that. And then I did about a year of schooling. So the schooling was completely optional, but I really enjoyed it. It gives you a bigger, I guess, outside of the plant, it gives you, more information you can kind of work with and see what everyone else is doing. Because I would say, I don't know what example, like math or something, it's standardized everywhere. If you go to, any wastewater plant in Sonoma County, none of them will be the same. They will have totally different treatment methods.
Really?
Yeah, just because everywhere, from Cloverdale, Hillsburg, Santa Rosa, they all have different, I'll just say, biological loads. You guys were talking about pooping. So basically they have to deal with what's coming in. Yeah, it's all so different.
Like there's their own entity.
Standard. What is it?
So they're just pretty much like their own entity. Like they have to deal with whatever their own population is putting out.
Correct. Yeah, pretty much. So, what is it? There's in Santa Rosa, they have the Amy's. I think, yeah, there's like the Amy's plant. So it's like a food manufacturing. And I know that they have to do at some food places like that, or breweries, they have to do like a preliminary treatment before they can even put their wastewater into the city's system.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because just the contents would essentially, it's weird. It's like a living beast, a wastewater treatment plant. And those like loads would literally kill the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. of those plants.
Wow, that's really interesting. So I'm kind of naive to our water systems and how just the process works. So I know we're kind of
I can explain this so dumb. Don't worry.
perfect.
That's perfect for me.
Yeah. So, I'll start at the beginning. You just wash your hands, you flush your toilet, people don't think about water past that point.
Right.
Goes down, goes to the sewers into a water treatment plant. That's the simple journey. And then from there, it's put out. What happens at a water treatment plant is we are taking all of those things, the shower waste, the poop waste, and we're cleaning it all up. And by the end, if they did their job right, you basically have taken out, I think I forgot what the percentage was, but sewer water comes in, or untreated water, and they still say it's like 95% water. You're like, that is kind of weird, but okay. And the goal is to get all 95% of that water to the end, and the rest will stay.
Okay.
Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, you'd be surprised what you find at the very start of the treatment plant, but at the end, you're getting just water. So yeah, it's a whole, there's a science pretty much behind all that. So like I mentioned with breweries and good bugs and bad bugs, during the process in wastewater, you are taking samples throughout all these pieces of it and just making sure that you have what you need to basically make the water clean. Yeah.
So once the water is made, gone through the plant, gone through the process, where does it go from there?
And again, that's like kind of dependent on where you're at. So Fort Bragg used to put it straight out into the ocean. I think it was in the 70s. They passed a law that you have to, we had to basically have standards. So we used to kind of just dump our water straight into water sources. So we'd take essentially what you flush down the toilet, and it was into a river, stream, whatever.
Which then comes back to our drinking water, right?
Yes. So like Glass Beach, I think, isn't that in Fort Bragg? That was because we just dumped. There was like a dump out there, and yeah. So basically we set up standards in the 70s, and people started to figure out ways to make it work and make it cleaner. In Cloverdale, I know they do percolation ponds. So they basically just put it in these ponds and it percolates, which is evaporation, or goes into the ground.
Gotcha.
So the filtered goes into the groundwater, which
the end product would be put in these ponds, and gets put back into Mother Earth, which is an expert water cleaner.
Yeah, the Mother Earth has a way of kind of cleaning everything up.
Pretty much. Yeah. But humans soil it a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. We're doing our best.
So you were saying before, when we were talking offline, that you'd done some testing on just untreated on water and things that are in the water. So like we drink a lot of, when you go to your tap, you drink treated water, right? And sometimes you get chlorine, and there's ways of getting that out, but it's a more efficient way or healthier way to consume your water. Now, you could probably argue, if you're like up in the mountains, you got natural spring water. I grew up on a well, and well water is a little funky, but you had said you'd done some testing and found stuff in the water. What was that?
Yeah, so there was 5 different sampling points, and it was all throughout, pretty close. It was between the plant I worked at and the river. Russian River was really close to it. So I think like 1 or 2 of the points would be considered well, and then, or groundwater. And then I believe the rest were parts of the river, different points in the river. So it'd be like before and after. So the plant I worked at would put their finished product into the river. And basically the whole point of testing is to make sure you're not going to shock or ruin the environment where you're dumping this water.
Yeah.
So basically, we found tons of stuff. like a laundry list of things in the water. To basically put it simply, anything a human has ingested was in that water. So ibuprofen, trace amounts. So I'm not talking like milligrams, but I'm talking nanograms, which is really a small amount, but it's there. So ibuprofen, testosterone, estrogen, BPA, which is we know from plastics, estradiol, that's part of the estrogen kind of family. Just anything you can imagine was in this water, pretty much.
I mean, I remember we had kind of had a little discussion about when you did this testing, and you offered to send over the list to me, and the list was like 5 pages long.
Yeah, I think I have about five or six pages of it. I'm surprised I saved it after all these years, but yeah.
I was absolutely astonished at what was in it.
Yep. But I think it goes to like a big picture too. It shows, we got to be careful as a society what we're putting in our bodies, because it doesn't really go away.
Well, yeah. So you're talking about, and I'm going to get the numbers wrong, so I'll probably not try not to throw out the numbers, but I know. So like in men, they've done tests over, I believe it's the last 40 year or 25 years, and testosterone levels have gone down about 40% in males. And that is because of the way food is processed and plastics. And now you're finding the remnants of these things in the water. And if you're in this area, that's seeping into like the wells and people's drinking water. So if you're not drinking the correctly treated, purified water, you're ingesting all those things into your system, which is going to throw your whole body off. Throw its homeostasis out of whack.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it. I'm on testosterone replacement therapy, and I firmly believe it's because we have so many of this like BPA, the endocrine disruptors is basically what I call them. It's everywhere. Like, not to scare you guys either, but we and the wastewater and water treatment, you can't clean those chemicals out. Unless you're doing like nanoparticle, like I think they've worked on it. So that's not the scary part. That's the good part, is we are figuring out ways to clean up water to like basically really have it purified. But these chemicals some of them are small, and they're going to just kind of stay in our water for a long time. One that got kind of big was, I think they made a documentary about it called PFOS, PFOS, and PFOA, PFOA. And that was a nonstick like compound they made, or they found it on like nonstick things. And basically they say that pretty much everyone on Earth now has this chemical in their body, and it's known to cause, a list of issues. And there's not really a way we can filter it. So we're going to be stuck with that chemical in our water supply, the world's water supply, for who knows how long.
Yeah, it'll just affect evolution.
I mean, it sounds like scary, but the good thing is people are working on this, so luckily, as of right now, I don't know of any solution to getting, all these chemicals out of our water. But I think being hydrated is important. I still think you should drink water.
Yeah, don't not drink water.
Don't not drink water.
Well, I think it's just the proper source, right? So you're being cognizant of where your water's coming from and where you're getting it, to make sure you stay hydrated, because there's a lot of those things, like we don't drink salt water because that will actively dehydrate you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're, over time, these substances in our water will kind of, example, I throw our body out of whack chemically, but this is, I really appreciate you coming on, Sean Paul, because it just brings more awareness, and it makes us less complacent when we have a source that's speaking about this topic directly to people.
Yeah. It's definitely something not a lot of people know about. And I think it is good to bring awareness, not only to Speaking of my fitness background, I've trained people. They're like, "Oh, I drank a bottle of water today." I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I can't
I
go a day
can't.
without like taking down at least a gallon. Like, holy, are you okay? How are you still alive?
I cannot tell you how much I harp on my clients about drinking water.
That's like my first question. I'm like, what's your water intake and how are you sleeping?
Yeah, yes, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
couple weeks ago, I had my client come to me. I slept like shit this week. Okay, let's look at your water intake immediately. The first thing.
yeah. So, but
Such a
yeah,
simple
again,
fix.
it's kind of like scary to think that we have all these pollutants in our water, but
Right.
at the same time, it's so much better to be hydrated. Like you talked about with that girl, I'll pick staying alert any day and conscious
Yes.
over being afraid of a nanogram. I think the example is I know with milligram, it's like picture whatever item. Let's picture a car. 1 milligram would be you take that car and you blew it into a million pieces. 1 milligram is one piece of that car. So a nanogram is really small, like really small. I think it's billionth or trillionth, whatever way you want to divide that car. We're finding nanograms of this stuff in water. So take that for, what you want.
Yeah, and like she said, my whole purpose of this is, like when I would have people come up to me and, hey, what supplements do you take? Hey, what do you do? And I would tell them, but I would emphasize the importance of don't just take it. I never just took a supplement. It was always, okay, somebody is taking this supplement and now I'm reading what's in it and what each of those components does in your body and how it affects your performance and how it boosts it or has a negative effect. So knowing what you put in your body and why you put these things in your body is extremely important.
100%. And yeah, if you're someone that's starting lifting, I feel like that's the biggest lesson. Like, I don't even want to teach you so much like lifting form or any of that stuff yet. I want to teach you how to read a nutritional label. Like, people don't even know what they're eating.
No.
So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, my girlfriend hates me right now because I'm like, pick up that thing and read me the macros. Right. And she's like, okay. She's like, I already know. Because, you'll see keto bar this or low calorie that. And I'm like, let's compare it to this other product. And
Oh,
it
the
doesn't market
marketing.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a marketing thing.
Yeah,
I'm like,
look,
look,
gross.
the macros are worse on the healthy thing.
Well, and then like you said, it's you have someone who comes in the gym and they want to lose weight or they want to build muscle or they want to compete in strongman, whatever it is, you have to use your muscles and your body to affect these changes. And it just simply, if you're not intaking enough water, then those processes won't function in your body. So you're doing all this work and you could potentially be doing harm to your body instead of getting that growth from something as simple as just drinking enough water.
Yeah, nutrient absorption, tying it into food. I mean, you could be eating the best you can and you're still not intaking it nutrients as efficiently if you're dehydrated. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, like you said it, you asked your clients, I've asked the people I've worked with. It's one of my first questions for a reason, because
yeah.
it's so simple. Everyone has access to water. The fact that we aren't, like, I think I've already drinking 20 ounces during this. Like, I'm on top of it.
Shit, I need to get on top of it.
Yeah. I think I like to share like anecdotal stuff because, yeah, it's nice to reference like university studies, but I think there's always something about kind of sharing your story. I used to sleep like shit, and it was because I was dehydrated. My sleep has probably my whole life, I would say, is like 5% better from having adequate water at all,
Wow.
like all the time. So, like I randomly get headaches, like you guys mentioned, or like mouth dryness. And then, yeah, the biggest thing for me was poor sleep. And when you have bad sleep, that spills into other things. You don't have a good day at work, you're moody, it's a domino effect. And it's so crazy that like water was the start of this.
Yeah, something so simple and something that we know it's right in front of our face.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, And also, I did kind of want to throw in, I didn't touch on this in the first portion of our discussion. However, if you don't like the taste, like my Nana hates the taste of just like regular water, throw some fruit in there, throw some mint in there, pizzazz it up a little bit, kind of disguise it if you don't like it. Intake it. Just
I'm one of those people.
Really?
So, well, it's not that I don't like water. I get bored of it.
Totally.
So I usually throw in electrolytes into my water, at least for, 20, 40 ounces of it. And I'm kind of spoiled now or my body's spoiled. If I don't have one of those packets, I'll start getting little muscle twitches. It's bad.
It's all, excuse me.
Having
I gotta sprinkle like salt into my water now or something.
Lemon's a good option.
There you go.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, like, listen, share. If you can, please give us a rating. Want to thank our sponsor, Nine Realms Athletics. Go to ninerealmsathletics.com. Use promo code MANIFEST for discount on your next order. And as always, we always look for suggestions. So if you guys know somebody who has information on a topic like this that you think would be important to get out to people, let us know. If someone has a interesting story, some hardship that they don't mind sharing to possibly help somebody else, shoot us a DM, shoot us an email, text message. I always say if I'm at the gym, come tap on my shoulder. We love everybody's suggestions, so feel free to throw them out. Sean Paul, thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I could come on and share a little bit of information.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Good night.